How's it going, guys? It's Crypto Lark. I want to talk to you today about what's been going on with Deutsche Bank. Such a crazy situation, so much bank fraud going on. It actually boggles my mind sometimes how insanely corrupt the banks are, and yet we keep using them. They keep getting bailed out, they keep getting support from governments, and anytime they get caught doing massive fraud like this, they get a slap on the wrist. No big deal, little fine. It's like the cost of doing business, basically. But it's so crazy. Deutsche Bank, of course, got raided by the police going in and rounding up records and all this stuff, but it's just wild. You know, this year we also had Australian banks being found out for massive fraud against their customers, and it's just totally crazy that the banks continue to do this. And you have to stop to think. How many times have the offices of Bitcoin been raided? 0 times, because Bitcoin doesn't have an office. This is the beauty of 24/7 decentralized money. There is no gatekeeper. There is no one to tell you can't have an account or you can't transact with that person. There is no one to launder money. Sure, you can use Bitcoin to launder money, but everything that's ever been found out is that Bitcoin's not actually that great for laundering money because it's on the blockchain. It's got a history. Whereas what you have in a bank, you go to a bank, it's so easy to launder money because the bank is not transparent at all. You know, we've been letting banks regulate themselves, watch over themselves. Whistleblowers inside banks get crushed or fired or defamed. So it's not like the banks are actually taking control of the situation and saying, we're gonna watch over ourselves and be responsible actors. No, any time in history that we've let the banks have free run, what do? They go out and actively work to screw their own customers. They act terribly, totally irresponsibly, wrecking economies, wrecking lives. It's mind-boggling. And yet they're continued to allowed to do operations. It's totally nuts that this is the system that we've come up with for our financial system, to have these gatekeepers that are so untrustworthy, so fraudulent, and they get caught doing this time and time again. And because they're so rich and powerful, no one ever goes to jail, which is in of itself a great indicator of how broken our current system is. And again, this is why decentralized finance is the future of finance, because there's no fraud. You can't do fractional reserve banking with Bitcoin because 1 Bitcoin is 1 Bitcoin. You can't have 1 Bitcoin and say, hey, actually I'm going to lend out 10 Bitcoin. Well, you know, you don't have that. You only have 1 Bitcoin. And I know that there's been some talk about Wall Street potentially doing this, but all the Wall Street financial instruments so far, they're actually all deliverables. So 1 Bitcoin on paper equals 1 actual Bitcoin later on. Will they try some different business in the future? I would not be surprised. Remember, this is what Wall Street does. As much fraud as possible, as much fraud as they're allowed to get away with. It's amazing that in an industry so awash with money, with so much potential to make money on Wall Street and in this investing, they continue to manipulate markets and to come back to fraud, because fraud is their model. It's how they make money. And considering this, it's time to give up on the banks, guys. It really is. It's so disappointing that so many of them were bailed out in 2008. That was just the height of crony capitalism. Companies that had failed terribly were propped up. Companies that had lied were propped up. And this is, of course, why Bitcoin was created in the first place. Because we need finance that represents the people. We need finance that is here for you. Not for them, but for us. For you, for me, for everybody. And that's why Bitcoin's so exciting. And I know a lot of people... Oh, the ship, by the way. Sweet. And that's one of the things that's really exciting about peer-to-peer finance. You don't need these people. And this is the great lie of 2018 that we still need banks. We don't need banks, guys. Their time is already coming to an end. It's just a question of actually moving away from that model. Anyway, those are just my 2 Satoshis, guys. You'll let me know what you think about the big banks and what's going on at Deutsche Bank down below in the comment section. You guys are awesome. If you're not subscribed already, hit that subscribe button. Leave a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. Hit that bell to keep up to date with what is happening in crypto. Long live the blockchain, and peace out till next time.